What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Sade, and we're returning to the compilation of her greatest hits. Thank you again to Sofia for this CD, and the next tune, and I've been jumping around, meaning I haven't gone through these tunes in order, and I think there's 16 in the folder, and this might be the 12th reaction. So yeah, at least a few more, but the next track that I've chosen to react to is Jezebel. Now, I've reacted to a tune by this name. I think it was a Recoil tune, which is to say Alan Wilder. I'm not sure, but whatever reaction it was, I probably gave a similar intro as I'm going to now. Jezebel, historically / scripturally, meaning biblical accounts of Jezebel, I think technically a Phoenician queen or princess. They are at best probably influenced greatly by theological attitudes, and they are not necessarily of accurate historicity. But yeah, she supposedly steered her subjects away from the worship of Yahweh toward the worship of like Baal and other theistic figures, and thus in what we now call Christian scripture, she's regarded as a like corrupting influence, a prototype of or an archetype of a non-conforming woman who leads others into bad ideas and, even promiscuity. She's seen as like a figure of like moral corruption, and so later references in scripture to her they play off of this, evil woman, promiscuous woman, and thus, again, like when people reference the historical Jezebel, they largely do it through the lens of like Judeo-Christian scriptures, which are, again, at best, more about theological attitudes than they are any sense of, actual Phoenician history and so on. So that's where I'm thinking the starting point of a song like this will be, but there have been modern articulations of Jezebel which try to kind of recapture her nonconformity and her strength and her disregard of, or at least superseding of, standard morality or attitudes about women, sex, and so on, and do it in a sort of positive way that, like, Jezebel isn't all she's been negatively made out to be. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's something like that happening here. But again, it is a single word title, so there's no additional context. Let's see what I can catch on a first hearing. This is Sade, the tune is Jezebel, and it comes from a greatest hits, or best of, Sade compilation.
Jezebel wasn't born with a silver spoon in her mouth. She probably had less than every one of us. But when she knew how to walk, she knew how to bring the house down. Can't blame her for her beauty. She wins with her hands down. Jezebel, what a belle. Looks like a princess in her new dress. How did you get that? Do you really want to know? She said. It would seem she's on her way. It's more than just a dream.
her slash their tunes are such like a vibe. Like they really just give off this feeling of, again, like artful jazz, soul, down tempo. Like I really feel like I'm in this artful jazz club, and there's, you know, the atmosphere of, you know, people watching, you know, people, you know, holding their drinks, you know, some smoke drifting through the air. It just feels like I'm in a nightclub. Although this one, I actually like, as a visual, I was imagining it being in a sort of jazz club, a darkened jazz club, but like maybe during the afternoon or something. It felt less like nighttime than some of the others. Either way, I love the sonics. The saxophone is the main focus of attention, but there's some nice little organ touches, and the rhythms, you know, they're sort of shifting and syncopated. And yeah, again, it just felt like a very classy, like, jazz club. And her voice, it just has this smooth quality. You know, I listen to a lot of good voices, and many of them that I go through in these various deep dives, solo artists, bands, you name it, they stand out because, number one, they're good, but number two, because they just have their own sound. And her voice is definitely in that vein. It's unique. It very much has its own smooth, like it manages to be smooth but have like a little, not gravel, but it has this like coarse texture to it. It's weird to describe something as smooth and coarse at the same time, but that's how my brain hears it. Like it just, she really has an awesome voice, and it is unique in its sonic qualities. And yeah, so like I think a lot of lines you can fit them into a more sympathetic perspective on the biblical character, but it also feels like it's taking maybe that biblical character, bringing it into a more modern setting, but then again casting a light on it where it's like, oh, you can understand why she did this, or you can sort of understand where she came from, or, you know, why she wanted to have influence and so on. So yeah, I don't know whether this is really just sort of based on an appraisal of the biblical character. It could be a creation, but at the very least it seems like it's drawing on the ideas, because again, it makes reference to her as like a princess in her dress, and there's a suggestion that she is of notable prominence, and as I said, it seems like it's more sympathetic than, let's say, historical references to Jezebel, which again, that could be used, you know, historically and you know, in more, let's say, religious based circles as like an epithet, like, oh, you're a Jezebel, and it's like it's meant in a negative, derogatory manner, and it doesn't feel like that's what's happening here. So yeah, again, just wonderful vocals, great sonic atmosphere, and instrumental parts, again, in particular the saxophone, which, if you know my channel, if you know my reactions, you'll be aware I am quite fond of the saxophone, and this is a very tasty one. But it's not alone. Again, there's, you know, strings in there, there's a like organ in there, and the sort of like jazz, blues, soul fusion. It's like somewhere between those genres, and as with other tunes of hers slash theirs, it really does give me this vision of just like, oh, I'm in this really like artful and classy jazz club. So another one that made me feel that. Thank you again to Sofia for this compilation, which again, prior to this, I think Smooth Operator is the only one I knew, so, or at least the only one I knew clearly and unequivocally. So it has been great to hear these other tunes. As I said, I think there's like at least 3 or maybe 4 more, so we've got a little bit more to go in the compilation. Let me know what you think here. I'll see you next time. Peace.